And we're live. Let them trickle in. Give them a few seconds. All right. Welcome, everyone, to another Syrvivor Syracuse post show. We are reacting to the most recent episode, the finale part 1, second to last episode, penultimate episode, as some might say. Here we have some excellent discussion people for this post show. We have Sabrina, a season 3 player of Syrvivor Syracuse. We'll be seeing her when that comes out. Valentina, the icon herself, the Franzia Queen, a season 1 player. She's doing well in LA. And we have a newcomer, Heidi, from season 2 of UConn. If you haven't watched that, make sure to check it out. You've seen Ethan on these live shows. He was helping out for production on that. Great season. Make sure you root on for Heidi there and watch that. So let's get into this episode. We have a lot to talk about. And the first thing we talk about is the first challenge. A puzzle. Wait, no. The first thing we talk about is the previous episode. Bear with me. The previous episode, Geneva goes home with a good move. It was a 3-2-1 vote. However, it might not have been the best move at that point. Talk to me a bit about that episode and what you thought about Geneva going home at 6th.
Anyone? Is this me? I'm assuming everyone else is.
Anyone.
Yeah. Geneva's boot was heartbreaking. I have played with Geneva over the summer. I think she has brought up Rankings Rumble before. Devastating. Absolutely devastating. I loved watching her this season. But Geneva's boot, it was a very interesting play. We'll get into it a bit more, I think, as the episode or the show goes on, I'm assuming. But the 3-2-1 is like a super hard thing to pull off strategically, but I still don't necessarily know that it was the best move, because I think now you've exposed this final 3 that Addie was talking about in the last episode. Because if you make it a 4-1 or even a 5-1, I think you can keep the fact that there is a final 3 secret. But the fact that you made a 3-2-1 at final 6 kind of exposes that final 3. And I mean, Geneva talked about it plenty in the last post show, but I think I agree with her somewhat that it wasn't quite Geneva's time yet. So definitely a really tough boot, but also a very interesting one.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, like Heidi said, a 3-2-1 is hard to pull off. I mean, when I was watching the episode, I don't really understand why they tried to make it like more complicated than it needed to be, because Summer was in a position where I think if they just gave her a name, like she would vote for them, which she did. She voted Austin, like she said she would. I think they could have just done that. It could have hidden their final 3 a little more, or you know, like I just don't think it needed to be that complicated, because then it can make things more complicated down the line, as we saw this episode.
No, yeah. They could have easily got either, I mean, figuring Austin as an idol, they could have easily got Geneva or Austin out at 5 and then keep that final 3 there. Valentina, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. A part of me is also thinking, like, Geneva is such a good player, and I feel like we all know she could have like had a very fair shot of winning, and that part of me is like, okay, well, maybe it's okay that she went out, period, you know what I mean? But I mean, I do think like exposing those numbers might outweigh that right now.
They also failed in their goal to get Austin to flush his idol, which I think is going to be very detrimental to that final 3 moving forward. Or I mean, we've seen the episode now, but like it could have been incredibly detrimental to them moving forward. Because all it would take is for Summer to win immunity, and then one of those 3 is going home. So
yeah, so let's talk about immunity. So we actually see Summer is the first person to do the immunity challenge, the puzzle challenge. Valentina we cut Valentina's out of it because the time of her puzzle was way too long. I'm pretty sure it was like
Wait, what was it? I don't remember what it was.
it was like 8 minutes. I literally have
No,
it.
it wasn't. No, it
I have it in a
wasn't.
rough cut. I put you like in 6th place when I'm announcing everyone. I was like in 6th place, Valentina.
Because like during the challenge, like today, I was like, "Yo, they should be faster." Like, you do not see like that piece right there, like. And now when I hear I did 8 minutes, that's
a pure challenge piece, of course.
Beast.
We see Summer getting a great time, honestly, of 2:37. Myself, I did it in 2:40. As you saw that. But then we see everyone, even Austin, Big Brain Austin, completed 6 seconds later than her. And then the last person, Mike, who eventually won the challenge. How did you guys view this challenge? And like, were you rooting for Summer at this point?
It's always fun to root for the underdog, and Summer also played a great game. I mean, I think she had some very good intentions on moves that she wanted to pull, as we've seen. She had the right idea, I think, of trying to make that secret alliance with Geneva back at the beginning of the merge. I mean, it didn't work out, but like, if the cards were played a little differently, I think it could have been such a powerful thing to have for her. But it would have been really cool to see her win, and she was so close too. Like, she is a competitor in these challenges.
I agree. Like when I saw like Austin was like beat her by like 3 or 4 seconds, I was like, damn it. And then of course it didn't matter because Mike, but like still I was like, damn, I was really rooting for her because I wanted her to like mess up the freaking majority. You know what I mean? I want them to start turning into each other.
It literally would have been crazy because if Summer won that challenge, Austin has an idol, Addie has an idol. It would have been down to Mike or Derek there. Yeah. And I don't know where that would have went, honestly. Heidi, any thoughts?
I agree with Valentina. I think I was rooting for Summer to win just because I'm personally rooting for Austin, but I was like, I want to see that final 3 shake up a little bit. Because I think as like an Austin fan, and what Austin correctly identifies is he kind of needs Summer in order to break up that final 3. That final 3 is obvious to him, and he needs one of them out. So I think Summer winning would have been really exciting, but I was rooting for her personally for that reason.
Alas. So yeah, so Mike wins the challenge. His 3rd, I think, of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Gives the idol clue to Addie. Doesn't matter anyway. Austin has it. And then we view over to Austin. So Austin was left out of the previous vote, which, I mean, in a sense, made him do this plan. So his plan is to either 1, get the votes targeted on him, or 2, get the votes on Derek by rallying in Addie and Summer. What did you guys think of Austin during this entire sequence?
King shit.
Really ponied up.
No, I don't know. I really liked that. Of course it blew up, but like still, you know what I mean? I liked the effort. I liked he kind of came close to it until the Summer thing, which we'll talk about it. Yeah. But like, yeah.
For his game, yeah, I think he definitely made like he was in the right mindset, and they all knew that the jury was in favor in Derek, but you know, the way the cookie crumbles just did not
I mean,
it didn't work out.
I think Austin was playing with fire a little bit. I don't think he ideally wanted to keep taking Summer deeper, but he knew he needed to. And I think he was put in such a tough position with Geneva getting booted when she did and being put in the spot that he is, but he correctly identified it that he needed Summer, and it's a risky thing to do because Summer is such a big jury threat and she's not bad at immunities. So I have a lot of respect for Austin for like correctly identifying like this is what needs to happen. And it sucks. It sucks that Summer goes and shoots herself in the foot. And not only shoots herself in the foot, but shoots Austin in the foot by running and telling Derek. That sucked. My heart broke for him there.
So let's talk a little bit about Mike for a second. So Austin actually he talks to Mike a little bit. He references the fact that maybe Derek is the move here instead of Summer. And Mike shoots it down. He doesn't want to get out Derek. Do you guys think Mike could have or should have joined that side to get out Derek, or do you think he should have stick with his 3?
I think it's smart that Mike stuck with keeping Derek for maybe another week, just because, thinking long term, ultimately you want to get to the final 2, and Derek is definitely one of the most likely people to take him. So I think it's good that he took that into consideration during that vote. Because I mean Derek won immunity, as we saw, final 4, but I guess setting himself up, I think he made the right move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that final 3 of Addie, Derek, and Mike is best for Mike out of those 3, because it seems like his biggest physical competitors are Summer and I'm blanking on names. I don't know why. Austin, my guy, Austin. If he can get to the final 3 with those 2, then it seems like he has his choice of who he goes to the end with. So I definitely don't blame Mike for not going along with that. I think Mike at that point in time had the clearest path to the end once Geneva was out, because if he can keep moving forward with that final 3, I think he wins.
Mm-hmm. Valentina, any thoughts?
I'm I always have trouble with these hypothetical things, like the alternate whatever. You know what I mean?
That's every question I ask.
I know, but just because it's you don't, you know what I mean? It worked out the way it was supposed to work out, I guess. But you know what I mean? But I do agree with both Sabrina and Heidi with the fact that, yeah, I don't know. It's a toughie. It's
tough. It's really tough.
A toughie.
So let's talk about before we get Derek. Let's talk about Austin's idol. So yes, he has a plan to get the votes on Derek, pretty much. Speaking of Derek, get the votes on Derek. That being said, he is very adamant about not playing his idol on Summer. Do you think he should have thought about it more, or do you think the risk was too high that if he played his idol on Summer, Addie could turn around and play the idol on Derek, and they could just vote Austin out? It's tough because you put into question do I wait until Addie plays her idol, then I stand up and play mine? You know what I mean? So it's it's one of those finicky things. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, sorry, you go first.
Okay. I think there's a lot more chaos that can happen if Austin introduces the idea that he might play the idol on anyone other than himself. I think his conversations leading up to that tribal are a lot different, and I think that could lead to a lot of things going wrong. I think, this is slightly later. He comes around to the new idea that okay, I can't save Summer, so I need to start trying to find the weak link in that final 3 and building that trust now, because I'm going to need that trust in the next round. And he correctly identifies Addie, I think, and switches his vote to voting out Summer instead, because he's I need Addie to trust me. And if I don't vote with Addie, I'm not going to be able to build that momentum.
True. Very true, Sabrina.
Yeah, I think if Austin were to play that idol on Summer, it would have been a very big move. It would, I think, earn him a lot of points with the jury, but you also have to get to the end to get those votes. So if he were to do that, I totally agree with Heidi. It would just be chaos. I feel like the only way he would have been able to do that is if he could ensure he wins the next 2 immunities, and just that's the only scenario I would see that going well.
Yeah, I think if he did that we know Austin is very much a careful thinker, and he thinks through his shit, and then as Luke says, 4D chess. And I think if he played that on Summer, it would have been a bit of ass, but like I think it would have just been like too reckless for him. You know what I mean? I think he could have considered yes, but at the end of the day, I don't think he would have done it just because I think he knew that it would have bit him in the ass. You know what I mean?
True. So moving on to the biggest point of probably this first part of the episode. So Austin reaches out via Addie and Summer via FaceTime. He gets their yeses on voting out Derek. Summer has this like internal battle saying, I want to win. I have to do this. I'll just vote out Derek and I'm here another week and I can win. I see the end at that point. At the same time, Derek doesn't deserve it. He's been my only ally. He's kept me in this game. Austin and Addie don't deserve it. It's kind of sort of along those lines. And she ends it off with, I don't have to side with Austin and Addie. I could side with Derek and Mike and get out Austin because Austin didn't tell Summer that he had an idol. So Summer goes to Derek and says to Derek, hey, Addie's planning to vote you out. What do you think Summer just fumbled the bag? Sorry, Summer's watching. So
she fumbled the bag, but I can't even like roast her for it because knowing my big mouth, I would have done the same thing. You know what I mean? So,
that's so true.
You know what I mean? Like, I love her, but also like I feel like we talk about this a lot. We're just like, in like hindsight's 20/20. Like, you know what I mean? When you're in the moment, you act with your emotions, and you're going to, you know what I mean? You're gonna be so like tunnel vision. You know what I mean? So, even though no, it wasn't, you know, genius, but like at the same time, like I can't knock her for it, you know? Yeah.
I mean, it's really easy to judge from like an audience perspective for that kind of thing. I mean, if Summer felt close to Derek and she felt like socially and like personally, like she couldn't do it, like that happens. It's not a game for $1 million. It's your college Survivor. Like that competitive instinct is still there, but sometimes it's not worth the social relationships that you actually make with these people. But I think strategically, absolutely drop the bag on that one. When you're in the position where you need to be saved and someone offers you the lifeline, you have to take it. It's kind of like a beggars can't be choosers kind of situation. Like when someone's offering you the lifeline, you have to grasp onto it. It seems like Summer's already got the jury in her pocket. She doesn't need to make many more moves at this point. She just has to keep surviving, and surviving, even if it's not her move, is going to look great because she's the biggest target right now. So I think strategically, obviously not a great move, but you can't blame her too much when.
I felt for Summer here because I don't know, Summer, if you know this, but you and Erica were actually my final 2 picks at the beginning of the season. So when I remember me, Mel, and Valentina were all going through the vlogs and we were like, why is Summer calling Derek right now? So we were like, what is going on? So I mean, but I totally understand. Derek has told Summer before, like the past 3 votes, that she wasn't going home. Like she kept her in the loop. So I can see why Summer did the same to Derek, and Derek just went straight to Addie, and then Addie went back to Summer and was like, I'm not doing this anymore, and yada yada yada. Rest is history. Sabrina, any thoughts before we let in Summer?
No, I think Heidi and Valentina like said it all. Like it's a very tough situation. I mean, of course, like while we're watching, as they said, it's very easy to be like, what are you doing? But I mean, I think Summer, like she had an idea going on about like taking out I think it was like Austin or Addie. Austin, yeah. But I think, wasn't she like the only one who wasn't really on that suspicion that he had the idol?
Yeah, so, she didn't know. She didn't know that Austin had the idol.
So, like, with not having that knowledge, I think if she knew that that was the case, it would have been Derek. So, I do give her credit for that because it could have, I don't know, could have changed some things, but yeah.
I don't know. Well, we'll see what she has to say. We're going to let in the 5th place finisher, Summer. Welcome, Summer.
Hi. How's the audio? Because I can get my laptop if you want.
No, it's solid. It's good. It's good.
Okay, if it's good, ignore my bad phone angle. It was just easier right now.
Summer,
Hello,
you were
Valentina. I think it is an act of the gods that we were both Final Five. It was meant to
Wouldn't
be
be Final Five twins with anyone else.
Exactly.
It makes so much sense.
It makes so much sense. It was our mouths that we couldn't control.
Honestly. So Summer, you were the underdog that everyone was cheering for. Like time and time again, you had the plan to get Jack out. It just didn't go right. I feel like every single move in this game that you planned just didn't go.
It went wrong. It's okay. I know. I know.
So, I guess the first question I want to ask is, what made you call Derek in that instance? I mean, you didn't know that Austin had idol. That's one thing, but
yeah, we'll get to that after. But Derek, because he was completely honest to me for 3 tribals in a row when he didn't need to be. He let me in on things for 3 weeks that I had no business knowing. Literally, because the second I was in real danger after Abby got voted out, I met with Derek like the next day because he felt like he would be like, I hadn't talked to him at all the entire game. So I was like, if I'm going to build a relationship, let's start a new one. So, and then he did. He built a relationship with me. He made it so that I wasn't the target 3 weeks in a row. So I was like, if someone's targeting him, I'm going to be loyal to him. We had an alliance at that point. So I was like, I'm going to go tell him. The reason I called him was because I didn't think he was going to go to Addie and confront her. I thought he would say, oh shit, Addie's working against me. Okay, I'm going to stick with Summer and Mike. Who are we going to vote out? And instead, he went and confronted Addie. And then Addie called me and was like, Summer, I don't trust you anymore. And I was like, okay. It was just such a mess. And it all happened literally within about 25 minutes before Tribal. It was so bad. I was getting so many flashbacks watching these episodes because it was literally like, everything happened 25 minutes before Tribal, and I went into Tribal without a solid plan, and I was like, this just doesn't feel right.
I don't know. Well, that's a good question by Thomas in the chat. So why keep idols a secret? It's not like they were playing any flashy moves with them. I guess that is a good question for everyone else, too. Like, why didn't Austin just tell you, Summer, that he had an idol? I mean,
I asked him. During that FaceTime, I asked him, because I don't even think I made a Club Penguin account because I was never given any clues. So I hadn't even been on the server because I was just like, I'm not just going to look for nothing. So I called Austin when we were on the FaceTime. I asked Austin and he told me no, like straight to my face. Like, and I couldn't tell if he was lying or not. He doesn't really have many expressions. So I was like,
it's true.
I was like, half of me was like, I feel like he'd tell me, and half of me was like, he's never gonna tell me. So when he told me no, I was like, okay, I guess he didn't find it. And then I didn't realize until I just rewatched the episode. Yeah, I had no idea that the votes were only going to be able to go to Derek and I. And if I had known that, then I 100% would have flipped on Derek. Sorry.
Damn, that would have been so interesting. Wow.
Yeah. I know.
Valentina, Heidi, and Sabrina, do you think Austin could have just made it known?
I forget. How did Mike, Addie, and Derek know? Did they just kind of deduce?
Yeah, they kind of
had it.
Mike thought it was the lighthouse, which it was, and the only person that would have gone there first before them was Austin.
I mean, from Austin's perspective, maybe he was hoping that he could idle someone out and that they would put votes on him for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why he wouldn't try to utilize it once. I mean, Summer's saying this happened 25 minutes before Tribal. At that point, like, you've already decided you're not playing it for anyone but yourself. Stuff is happening. Plans are falling through. I don't know why you wouldn't leverage that, but
yeah, I don't get why he didn't tell me. Now that I think about it more, like, why didn't he tell me? I would have definitely voted with him.
That's a good point. So, Derek, you have both Austin and Summer to thank for your for not being eliminated. That being said, I want to actually backtrack a bit to the Jack vote, right?
Okay.
So I don't know if you remember this, but you went to Geneva that week.
Oh, I remember.
You went to Geneva that week.
I remember.
If you
thought Jack Lavallo has let me live that down, you would be lying to yourself.
Oh, trust me, I know. I know.
Okay.
So I totally get it. Like I would have probably done the same thing. Do you regret that move of going to Geneva and like trying to plan like a future ally?
Do I regret it now?
Yeah.
I guess I gotta think. Because I literally don't know. I've been like trying to think about what I'm gonna say. Do I regret how I played the game, blah blah. And I literally can't decide because in that moment in the game, I wanted Jack out. I didn't trust him. I never wanted to work with him. I wanted him out. So I was like, yeah, I'll go talk to Geneva. I don't care. Like, it didn't seem that bad to me because I was like, I've never been loyal to Jack and I haven't wanted to work with him. So it's okay for me to want to go vote him out.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I can't regret it because I know that's what I wanted to do in the game in that moment, but it didn't work.
Fair enough. No, yeah, I don't blame you whatsoever. It was, even though that would have been a game shifting thing if like you didn't go to Geneva. I mean, props to Geneva for doing that entire thing, I guess. But
yeah, whatever that whole thing was.
That said, is there anything? This is the second question that you just said. Is there anything that you regret from the game that you played? Like, is there something you would have done differently?
I would have done the Girls Alliance that I wanted to do all along. I remember that. I regret it because I am really happy with the friendships I made through the alliance I have, so I don't regret it. But I know if I had played the game with a stronger mindset of winning, I would have said, Abby, no, we're sticking with the girls because we have the majority with Geneva and Daisy. So I think I should have been more stuck on that than I was, where I was like, oh, new people, new friendships, like, sure, we can talk to them, but then we ended up getting along well, so we were like, we'll work together. I just didn't think it would end up, like, getting that serious.
Fair. Let's see what Derek has to say. I feel really bad now because I didn't know that Summer was conflicted about voting me out. Based on what Mike had said, I thought she was gunning for me, and that's why I directly went to Addie.
I was so conflicted, Derek. But it's okay. I don't blame Derek.
I can say that I definitely wanted to work with Summer, but things didn't work out. I also wanted the Girls Alliance from the beginning. Yeah.
I didn't
the
know
Girls Alliance would have been too powerful.
It was the Girls Alliance plus
Mitch. Too much ass.
It was the Girls Alliance plus Mitch, and like, whew.
It could have worked.
Too iconic.
Yeah. Okay, Geneva, I'm glad you could hear me say that. I should have stuck with it, and I didn't. But it's okay. I've gotten over it at this point.
Here's a good question. So say that you make it past Final Five, right? Derek goes home. You do that plan. So it's you, Austin, Addie, Mike. Who do you try to work with from here on out? And who do you try to sit with at Final Two?
Well, if Derek had gone home, then I'm assuming that means I would have voted with Austin and Addie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would have worked with them to get Mike out because, like I said, Mike didn't have many, and I guess he didn't have. I don't know. I feel Mike definitely had the biggest resume. He definitely should have won or could have won. Yeah, I think I would have worked with Addie and Austin because I would have voted with them to get out Derek. So, yeah.
For sure. Do you guys have any questions? I'm trying to think for more. Oh, if you were to play again, what would you come in with a different strategy? What do you think?
It depends on who I'm playing with. Like if I had an all-girls majority, then I'd probably say, yo, I messed this up once. This is the easiest way to make an alliance. We're going to do it this time. So yeah, I think I would play differently. I think I would just make an alliance at the beginning and try and stick with like my day ones.
Fair enough. Heidi, Valentina, Sab, any questions for Summer?
I have a question, actually.
Sure.
Okay, so with the Geneva,
Heidi, you summed things up perfectly right before I came on when you were like, I kind of went with the social move rather than the strategic move.
No, absolutely, and yeah. I think if somehow you stayed in and Derek went out instead, like he'd be on the jury rooting for you. Like I think stuff like that is like really good jury management. It's just kind of playing with fire, I think, a lot of the time. So I have a question. So you said that Derek told you about like the past like 3 weeks, like you had a lot of information that like you had no right to knowing. But we could talk a little bit about like the 3-2-1 and how it didn't really make sense to leave you out of that. Did that ever like raise any questions in your mind going into this final 5 round that they left you out, or was it more like you were so glad to have not been voted out because it seemed like it was going to be you?
So you're talking about the Geneva vote?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that it honestly I wasn't that upset about it because it made sense. Like I stayed in the game, and I stayed in the game without Derek putting his game in my hands, like in case I had flipped on him with the information he gave me. So I wasn't that upset because I stayed in. And it made sense for Derek and Mike not to tell me because this was the first vote where they actually needed me. So yeah, I was left in the dark, but I was like, it's okay. I survived another round. I wasn't that mad. Because he immediately told me, because then that's when we really established trust, was because I voted for who he told me for, which was, I think, Austin. So now that I showed I was loyal to him, it was a benefit to me because I voted for who he told me to.
Fair. V, sad.
I'm chilling.
I'm chilling too.
I'm trying to think of if I have any last words, but I guess I can save those for the reunion.
True. Let's see. Do you have any questions? I don't know. No, I already answered the question. See,
that puzzle challenge hurt. Once again, so close. I wasn't so close. Mike beat me by 30 seconds, but I was second place again.
Puzzle challenge, loved ones challenge, every single challenge, every single move and challenge. I always
came second.
it always was so close for Summer, just didn't work out.
Okay, I'm at peace now.
Yeah,
I guess.
Watching that challenge as a viewer for the first time was so funny because Summer, obviously you went first and it was like what, 2 minutes 30 something seconds?
2:37, yeah.
In my head, I was like, that's so long. Like, she needs this immunity. Why is it taking so long? But if like it wasn't, in my head, like I was like, I guess it'd be easier if you had like an iPad or something, you could drag it. But I was watching the mouse and I could hear the mouse like moving on your like.
Yeah, I know. I was watching it and I was like, did I go this slow? I was like, I thought I got second place. I feel like I'm taking forever.
It like felt really slow for some reason, and I don't know why it was. But then I was watching everyone else's times, and I was like, oh my god, Summer has this. I was like super excited. But it's really funny. It's the viewer perspective is just so interesting because like you think certain things and then like in practice it's not at all like that. But
my favorite part was when you and Cassie, your friend, was doing the plank with the golf ball and you had to get in the bucket, and then you were on the last ball, and then you hit the rim of the bucket.
Oh, Luke, don't talk to me about it.
It was so sad.
I have a comment about that, but I don't know if I should save it for the reunion.
I mean, it doesn't.
I can say it at both. So I remember, I'll say this at the reunion too, because I think it's kind of fun. But I remember going into that challenge. We had done the ball balancing on the plank. That was the first challenge that we lost as Maroon 9. And it's because Abby and Daisy went really slow balancing it, and whoever did it on Zeleny went really fast and somehow did it. So I remember telling Callie, who's my loved one, I was like, Callie, you're going to think you have to go really slow, but you can do this really fast. And so we do it really fast, and then I was a lap ahead of the boys. And Erica said to me when I was back to do my last ball, she goes, Summer, you're a lap ahead. And I thought I didn't know that. I didn't realize I'd gone that much ahead. She goes, Summer, you're a lap ahead. You're fine. So I lost focus because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a lap ahead. I'm about to win. So I lost focus because of that because I had no idea it was a whole lap ahead. I thought it was a whole length or whatever. And so we finally get to the end. I'm so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then it bounces off the rim.
Oh,
painful. Painful. Poor Callie.
Well, if there's any consolation, you're still a sophomore, so who knows?
There we go.
Who knows? Maybe you'll get another chance to get that challenge win that you've been so close to getting. Geneva has a question.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
At Final 10, if I told you that Addie didn't want to flip to vote with the majority, but I did, how would you have responded? Is this during the Andrew vote?
Is that the Andrew vote? I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if that ever would have happened because I feel like, Geneva, if you had flipped, I think Addie would have too, because I don't think Addie would have wanted to go to Rocks because it would have been a tie. So how would I have responded? I would have been very happy. And I think I would have been like, I would have used it as leverage to try and get Addie to flip too, or I think you would have, because no one wants to go to Rocks at Final 10 or any ever. But yeah.
You said correct. You passed. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right. With that, Summer, thank you for coming on. We enjoyed having you in the season. Who knows? Maybe you'll do another one. With that being said, thank you once again.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Luke. You worked so hard on this. I really appreciate it. And Valentina and everyone behind the scenes. Such a great time. So glad I was a part of it. I'll see you all soon.
For sure.
Bye.
See you. And there was Summer. I think she's still here.
Looks like.
Want to hang out.
She just turned off her phone.
Black void that is Summer.
Summer goes home. I'm so glad. But then we move on to the 4, and amazingly, how it's the 4 from Zeleny that went to 2 tribal councils in a row in the beginning. Game of Survivor, I guess. They were on the bottom for pretty much all the game until post-merge. And then it's Zeleny Final 4. So we go straight into the challenge after Derek's explanation of what happened, which was very helpful for editor's sake. So we go into the challenge. It's a collect something and show something challenge. Great name. Valentina was there. We saw her. What do you guys think of this challenge?
I thought it was fun. Very doable over Zoom, of course, during a pandemic, a lockdown. I think just like running around the house and just, I don't know, it just seemed like a good time, even though it was probably super stressful.
Valentina, did you want to? Oh, Heidi, you go.
I've seen this challenge done, like our COVID season, I think, did this challenge, and I watched it, and it's so funny because like it's COVID, so you're at home, and your parents, who probably don't understand Survivor that much, mine never do, so like they don't fully understand what's happening, and you're busting through the house, you're knocking things over, all that stuff. It's such a fun challenge. It really is.
Was it Austin's mom that was like,
don't take my phone. I'm really gassed. And Mike had, me and Mike were like looking at Mike. We were like, why are you, like, we gave them a chance to move. Like, we didn't tell them this challenge, but I was like, you're going to be moving around like your house and stuff. And Mike opts to sit in his basement of all places.
I remember feeling so bad for him.
And I'm like, this kid is not here yet. I'm like, I'm about to start the next object. I'm like, oh, Mike's not here yet.
I think there's a few times when you're like, okay, and the next object, and Mike wasn't in sight yet, and he would like come from the back. There was also like nothing behind him. It was just a blank wall behind him. So he had to like run around his laptop to like go out and get stuff too. Like everyone else, you saw them go into the house, but Mike had to like go around his computer, and then I guess he was in the basement, so up the stairs.
Oh yeah,
the challenge is so funny.
Mike didn't get injured in this challenge, as he's famously known for injuring himself in many challenges. He has injured himself in many challenges. That being said, Derek wins this challenge. And Valentina's disconnecting. She's back. So Derek wins this challenge, and we move on to the portion where we're deciding what to do with the vote. So Austin is first on screen, and he's like, I'm going to rely on a relationship with Addie. Maybe it was a good thing that Summer went home, because it gave me a chance to show to Addie that I'm like with her, and build that strong relationship. And they want to take out Mike. And he also, what I'm very impressed with Austin for this is like it's a Final Four vote, and if I remember, they had like a week to decide this vote, which is not like that's a really long time for a vote. And he waited until like the last day. Like he did not get frazzled. I've never seen this kid paranoid, and he like waited till the last day to contact Derek and Addie, and then I don't know. What did you guys think of this whole process of Austin trying to take out Mike, reaching out when he did and stuff?
I think, the less time you're given to determine a vote, the less things, there's like less time for things to go wrong. Mm-hmm. So I think he made a good choice in like waiting to get all of that done. And like out of who's left, I mean, Mike's resume is very good at this point. And like, it would be kind of crazy to not really at least like raise your eyebrows at what Mike has done in this game. And I mean, the fact that it's at a tie right now and we have that cliffhanger to see what's going to happen. Like it shows how much loyalty is like valued in this game because I think Derek could have easily flipped. Derek knows Mike's resume, but he stuck with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think? I can make the question more succinct because I kind of went all over the place, as I tend to do. I guess let's talk about what should we talk about first? We'll talk about Addie's choice to side with Austin. Do you guys think that was the correct choice for her, or do you think she should have stayed with the three guys and just taken out Austin and do the simple, easy vote?
I'm not sure.
But you go.
I'm not sure that Addie has a lot of winning potential left in the game, so I'm not, from my perspective at least, it seems like Addie's pretty dead in the water. I think Geneva correctly identified that like they would need to go against each other with how the jury is right now for either of them to really stand a chance. I think that because of that, Addie, it doesn't super matter what she chooses, but I do think she navigated this round really well regardless with how chaotic and confusing it all was. As a viewer, I'm glad that she chose to go with Austin and go along with that. I think it shows that she's still thinking, she's still playing, she's still doing things. I'm not sure that it matters yet. We'll have to see like at Final Tribal Council if Addie gets there, if people are willing to hear her out. But I think she navigated this round really well with Austin, despite the fact that I'm not sure it ultimately matters who she goes with. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, 100%. Valentina?
I get that. And yes, but a part of me is just like with the whole like tea that happened, I was really glad that she didn't let herself get taken advantage of or like manipulated by like Derek's like bullshit. And I get it, it's game, and it was nice to see Derek freaking lie. But you know what I mean? Like I'm glad because I forgot what was happening, but like, and then when you're like, I was watching it and then it felt like I was watching it for the first time, whatever. And then I was really like rooting for her. I was like, please don't like let yourself like be like sucked in to like this whole ruse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do agree that like at this point, almost everybody else does have more jury pull by a lot.
I super agree with all of that. I think she did hold her own and she did not get pushed around. And yeah, I don't think it matters, but I really do feel like she came off really strong after that. And I'd hope that the jury would at the very least give her credit for the things that she is doing, because she, I think, came off very strong throughout that. I think if I was a jury member there, I'd be pretty impressed, because Derek and Mike were doing the absolute most to try to, like, they had backup lies. They had, like, their lies, and then they're like evidence for their lies, their fake evidence, and then they had backup lies that also had like look at our proof, we have the sheet. Like it was so much. They did the most. So the fact that Addie was able to like stick it to him and be like, no, I'm tying this vote up, you can't get me with this, like, even if it doesn't matter, seeing her navigate that was phenomenal, because they were doing everything. Like it was crazy.
Oh, it was great.
It's also really funny because there was a point in time where Addie was like, okay, like I know who I'm gonna vote for, can we just do this? And then they just kept going with it.
It was great. It was a great TV. Oh yeah. Honestly, if I were playing, I would have done the same exact thing. You already know. And Derek, this is a better lie that you did tell at the tribal council, by the way. I just want to say that this is a better lie. No, that joke didn't land that much. Damn it.
So sorry.
So moving on to the second partner in crime, I guess you could say, Mike. Mike makes this earn a steal extra vote advantage that he found week 1. What is that?
Coincidentally, the last time you could play, it's Final Four. Oh my God.
What did you guys think of this?
One viewer said it's an insult to Addie's intelligence, and I was like, yeah, it kind of is. Why would you ever have like a extra vote at Final Four? The only thing that can happen is a simple majority or a tie vote. I guess you could do the 2-1-1. It doesn't happen that often, but there's only so much that can happen, and I feel like it robs a lot of potential. And I'm glad Addie and Austin saw that it would be so silly to have something like that after you can't even play idols at Final Four. I don't know what other advantages typically would be allowed to use after the idols expire. At that point, like it's immunity wins and it's here in grit. That was crazy. That and the fact that it was the backup, like it was crazy, but it was also the backup to their original plan, which was the fake messages that Austin was also like, prove that it was me, and he couldn't do it. I was dying. I was dying when Derek was trying to pull up the proof, and he's like, you guys see my screen, and you can't see anything because he doesn't have any proof. It's like, what is going on? And then at that point, Addie is like, well, what the fuck? Like, why are you lying to me? And then they pull up their next lie and they're like, we're not done. Like, it's insane. It's insane. I don't fully understand where they thought that they would be able to convince her after their first lie was already exposed. Like, I feel like once the first one's exposed, it's kind of done. I do get what they were doing. I get using the chaos of it being Final Four. Like Final Four is like can be so stressful. There's so much chaos that can happen, and I could see where they're trying to pry in on that confusion and just kind of like trick her. Like, but there's not like it seems silly. I get what they're doing, where it's like sometimes in the confusion you can actually succeed. But it was crazy. I can't believe any of it. I was dying.
I didn't have proof, but I was actually struggling to share my screen. I would have loved it if we actually got a screen and it was just like, oh, this is where it is.
I will defend Derek in that, like, before that, like, that was all done, like, before we, like, knew how to use Zoom, really.
Okay.
Like, I think also it's just, like, really fun seeing, like, the progression of everyone learning how to use Zoom. Like, now we have backgrounds in the tribal.
Yeah.
Just, like, as the chaos is just, oh, my God.
My question for Derek is, this would have been low-key genius if this was intentional. If he like intentionally did it on his did Zoom on his phone so that it was like You know what I mean? Because like when you're doing it on a computer, you'd like, you know what I mean? But like,
he would have said like, I can't do it because I'm on Zoom on my phone.
right. But anyway.
But let's talk about Austin here. So we see Austin and he's like kind of battling Mike and Derek this entire time, like, show me the proof, where's the proof? And you said jury like kind of cheer him on, and like you see Sean pumping up the roof. Oliver come back with the frame. You see Jack getting absolutely just crazy out of his mind. Do you think Austin won some jury votes with this showcase of just like trying to battle?
Low key.
This is the first time I was shocked by Austin even raising his voice.
Yeah, Austin was the voice of truth. I mean, that's all I could say about his role in this tribal. He was honest this week. He was the honest one. Like, props to him in the middle of all this chaos.
Facts.
It's impressive how level-headed he was. With all that going on, I think Austin was the voice of reason, and it was also so important that he did flip and vote for Summer, despite it being his plan to save Summer, because then he had that trust with Addie, like, coming into it. He could cite that. I think him being able to cite that, like, I did not lie to you. That was Summer. That was like making this whole thing not work. That voting for Derek didn't work because of Summer, not me. I voted with you. I proved myself to you. I think that was really, really important. I think Austin is nailing this end game. I think the jury seems to be rooting for him, which freaks me out because I'm like, oh, jury, don't be too visible with who you're supporting. And I'm just going to vote him out. But I think it did look like he was winning some votes. Sean was going absolutely crazy. The whole jury was super hyped. I was watching Geneva's face trying to like figure out what was going on. She was just like, what? But I do think the jury was super impressed with all of that. And it does make me to a degree worry if Austin is able to win this like 2v2 or not 2v2 this fire making, is he going to be the next boot immediately? I mean, there's only one boot left, but I mean is he going to get taken out over Derek? Say Addie wins final immunity, does he get taken out over Derek, who seems to be before this more of a jury favorite because the jury went so crazy for Austin during this this whole thing?
That's big insight. That's big insight. This is so funny. There were so many chaotic votes this season. Shirley would have used the extra vote by now. So true. So true. So let's talk about, before we get into the cliffhanger, let's talk about Mike and Derek. I always recall back to this vote and wonder why Mike and Derek just didn't vote for Addie to begin with. I mean, Mike referenced it a little bit that he'd rather face off in a fire making challenge against Addie than Austin, because Austin's very perceptive. That being said, do you think it's a loyalty thing that they just had to like keep Addie like with them, or do you think they made the wrong move in not voting for Addie? What do you think?
I think they should have. They kind of, I think, dispersed their cards a little bit. I think they should have gone either all in with getting Addie on their side, or they should have gone all in with like setting up that last like fire making challenge. So I think if they just like picked a game plan and stuck to it, it could have gone a lot smoother, and also probably could have avoided a lot of the chaos that happened in this tribal.
I really agree with Sabrina. I think that they it seemed like a little bit like hubris. Like they were really confident that they would be able to get Addie to vote with them, but then they failed, and then they are in this not ideal situation where you have Austin and Mike going against each other in fire making, and if anyone can beat Mike in fire making, it's going to be Austin. Like they both have pretty impressive individual immunity. I'm not sure how fire making works in online what to expect from that. But I agree with Sabrina. I think they needed to pick a plan and stick with it. And above all else, I think they shouldn't have tried to trick Addie. I think they should have just kept up their social connections with her, and maintained that relationship so that Austin couldn't dig his claws in and pull her away from them.
Fair enough. And just to point out a thing, the tiebreaker challenge will not be them making fires in their respective homes, but there will there will be a preview to it coming out on social media sometime this week. So stay tuned to that. But Valentina, you will say something?
Oh no, like just the way Sabrina said it, 100 billion bajillion % in terms of like pick a lane and like just write it out. She said that. But sorry. But you know what I mean? Like I no, like literally exactly, Sabrina. I do think that like maybe damned if you do, damned if you don't in terms of keeping Addie or not, just because like we talked about before, and keeping her around, it'll probably be easier to beat her than anyone else. Fire making or final tribal, but at the same time, like, yeah, I don't know, but yes, 100% to picking a lane.
Derek has some insight for us. I was pushing for Austin because I felt Addie would take me to final 2 over Mike. Mike wanted to vote Addie. He even texted me right before when casting votes asking me if we should have voted for Addie. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, right? That being said, we have it deadlocks and then it's a revote. So I put a revote there. I put a revote in just to add some more suspense because I do that. I don't know if that's a thing in Real Survivor if they revote at a final 4. But Derek's presented with this opportunity to take out Mike again. Do you think he should have done it? Or do you think he should have just rode the ship and send them to... Because Austin makes a good point. I mean, if Mike beats Austin in this challenge, that's kind of another chip on his resume. That's he made it there himself. What do you guys think?
Austin was spot on again. Fire making like doesn't happen that much when it comes to like the final 4 tie vote. Like that doesn't happen a lot, and it's huge. And whoever comes out of that alive looks really, really good, and they're 1 immunity win away from being able to like take the crown. So I think he should have flipped.
What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I think we've given him a little bit of jury clout too. You know what I mean? Just like he could be that cutthroat dude too. You know what I mean? Hey, jury and the people love a good character development. So
true. It's tough though too, because you have to think about it. Like, if he did do that, would Austin get all the credit for splitting up that duo? So it's like, pick your poison and maybe root for Mike in the challenge. Sad, what do you think?
I think both Heidi and Valentina brought up really good points. Like a tiebreaker challenge could be very big. It is definitely something to add to a resume. And like, I don't know, let's say Derek didn't tie it up again. Like, I don't know, who knows how a jury would like perceive that like in the next tribal. Like I think they could like maybe share the move, like Austin and Derek. I mean, of course that's not going to happen because it didn't. But yeah, I think he definitely did have an opportunity to do something big and kind of slept on that.
All right. Fair enough. So Derek decides to vote for Austin again, deadlocking it once again, and we move on to the tiebreaker, fire making, whatever you want to call it. Between these two, the bromance that I tried to edit in.
so
Basically, I mean, It's really interesting because both Mike and Austin were close in this game, but they weren't like it wasn't Derek and Mike close. You know what I mean? They met. They were the first pair that met in the beginning of the season. They met with the Jack vote. They were always together, but they never really made it super evident, I would say. So what do you guys think of these two facing off in this challenge? And who do you think might win it? I mean, I don't know.
It's hard because, like, in my opinion, I feel like Addie and Derek, incredible. I love them so much. However, I do think Austin and Mike are, like, out of those four, are the better players. It just, in my opinion, just I like their games best and all that. But so that's why like this clash. It really is like whoever's gonna come out on top, you know what I mean, is gonna get a lot of brownie points.
True.
It's been a crazy power struggle this whole episode with them because I think coming into the episode, Mike had a lot of the power. Mike had a very clear path to the end. The Geneva vote, I think, was only really good for him and technically Summer since she didn't get voted out because of it. He has that final three. If he can maintain that final three and get them to the final three, I think he has a really, really good chance at winning. But I think Austin being put on the bottom along with Summer after that boot has been navigating this final five flawlessly. So I think it's really interesting because I think coming into this episode, I was like, I don't know who's going to challenge Mike. Like, I feel like Mike has like this cakewalk to the end. But Austin's done everything right. He's laid all the groundwork in just these few votes to challenge him. And it's really interesting. I really wanted to see them both at Final Tribal Council arguing their cases, but this is also so interesting. Ryan saying he wants his Austin winner pick to pull through. Hi, Ryan. But I don't know. The whole thing's crazy.
Okay. Sad thoughts?
I just think this is the ultimate battle. Like we've seen these two grow together throughout this entire game, and this is just how it ends. I think it's kind of poetic. I don't know.
It really is.
You said it was so beautiful. Like, wow.
Yeah. Like everyone knows that I love these two. So seeing these two face off was just woof. Like you'll get to see it next week, but it was just woof. So be excited for that. Next, to end it off, we have our final little segment I like to call Higher or Lower. So we did an Instagram poll of, I'm weird, it's fine. We did an Instagram poll of who do you think is going to win? And these are the percentages. Based on this episode, this was before the episode. Based on this episode, do you think their chances are higher or lower than these percentages? We'll start off with Addie. Addie, 33% to win.
Lower. Said with love, but lower.
I think lower.
Yeah, I agree, lower.
Okay. Derek, 48%. You can say like stay.
Stay.
I'd say stay. I think like technically it'd be about 50. Just like nitpicking there.
Fair enough. Austin at 52.
Fair enough.
We're staying for this one?
Stay.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike at 66.
Can't think of a better number, so sure.
I'd say stay. I think if Mike gets through this, then he wins because I think there's still a chance that Addie or Derek take him to the end. I mean, Derek already showcased like his loyalty here and tying it up for him. But he has to get through this fire making, and that's it's 50-50 as it gets. So
100%. So that's 100% COVID. We'll take that up. That being said, so Sav and Valentina actually knows what happens. They've done a good job sealing their lips, honestly. But Heidi doesn't know. So Heidi, who is your winner's pick? If you were to give us your winner's pick, we know Ryan's from Survivor Yukon. Who's yours?
I agree with Ryan. I want it to be Austin. I have hope it could be Austin. He's 2 challenge wins away. If he beats it in fire making, and if he beats it, I have hope that he can take Addie and go to the end. I still don't know if he wins out socially if he were to take Derek for whatever reason, because I do think people generally like Derek, but I'm holding out for Austin. I'm such a big fan of the end game because I think it's so easy to have a great game come crashing down, and it's also so easy to have like such a rough ride. And then I think around final 6, usually you can identify. I think everyone typically can have like a winner's path at the end in like final 6. Like if you're the 2 on the bottom, then your winner's path is getting to the end with the other person on the bottom. Which is why I think like Addie's last chance kind of went with Geneva, not because Geneva played poorly, but because the jury didn't seem to like Geneva. But I think even though Austin keeps having his end game like messed up because of things that are out of his control, he keeps finding a way to like persevere anyway, and it's really impressive. So I'd say Austin.
Okay. All right, we'll see if her and Grandy's or Ryan's pick comes to fruition. But yeah, we have one last episode. Get excited for it of season 2, and then the following week will be the reunion episode, a reunion clip where we get into juicy details within the season. Totally unedited, probably, because I simply just don't have time for that. And yeah. So I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to say what they need to say in a solo layout. We'll start with Sab. Sab, you're up.
All right. Well, you guys have heard them say my name. I'm Sabrina. And I guess follow me on Instagram. It's Sabrina_Mauro, MAURO. Yeah, I love Survivor Syracuse. It's a great time. Just keep watching. Yeah.
And you'll definitely get to see Sabrina hopefully later on this year for Survivor Syracuse season 3. Speaking of Survivor Syracuse, Valentina.
Hello. Insta, of course, Valentina Velasquez _. Twitter, Val_Velasquez. Venmo, Oso Valentina, I believe. Also, if anyone has any meme suggestions, please hit your girl up. Yeah.
True. Venmo, all right. Last but not least, Heidi from Survivor Yukon.
Hi. So if you've enjoyed Survivor Syracuse season 2 and you want another college survivor to watch after this, I absolutely recommend checking out Survivor Yukon. We have season 1 and 2 fully uploaded on YouTube, so check us out. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Great season to watch there. Definitely highly recommend. That doesn't fulfill the Zubin legacy from season 1. I'll say that much. But
hard shoes to fill. Zubin's an icon.
That's very true. That being said, from here at Survivor Syracuse, thank you guys. We'll be back next week with the final post show as well, talking about the finale and the winner of season 2. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Good night.